Alright, welcome everybody. That is Victor's Wagon 360, and today we'll be looking at a little lesson in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. This is for the people who know the basics of Clickteam Fusion. So basically, I'll be showing you a couple of formulas that will can hopefully be helpful to some people who want to measure distances, display the distance between two objects, etc., etc. So draw a line between two objects. So that's essentially what the lesson is about. So what we need to do is obviously open Clickteam Fusion 2.5, go to New Application, or click on the New, Control N, then click on the frame, double click, create an active that we want to create, and now all we need to do is basically draw a shape or whatever you want to represent the object. Like we can draw a simple stickman if you want. So essentially it will be like that. Let's draw the stickman body. Yeah. Something like that. I know I'm not an artist, more like a fartist at this point, but I really am an artist. Okay, fair enough. Make sure the hotspot for the object is obviously in the middle, and so is the action point. So once we've done that, we click OK. We have our object. Now what we need to do is create another active object that will represent our position of the mouse. So you can edit it to anything you want. I'll just make a simple circle in the middle, so like a little thing that will represent it, because it doesn't really matter what we're drawing there, because it will be invisible. So we will just make sure hotspot is in the middle as well, just for the sake of it. And in the event editor, if we go there, we create a new condition and always make, so we select the always condition. Now we select the new active that is supposed to be marker of the cursor, and we make its position of x coordinate equal to the x coordinate of the mouse. Okay, and make the position of y coordinate equal to the y position of the mouse. So okay, now what we need to do basically, if we test the game now, we can obviously like see the object moving, but the other object is obviously immobile because we haven't set movement for it. So now we need to make the object invisible, visibility, and always make object invisible just in case. And obviously test little steps so that you can now see the object is has disappeared from the scene. It's still there, but it is invisible. So it's actually still in the scene, and that's what we need. So now we'll need a new object that will represent the line from mouse pointer that is represented by this little dot to the object. So in this case the player maybe, or the character, whatever you want to call it. First of all, let's create a little identification of whether the mouse is pressed or not, because we'll be activating the line with the left mouse button. So we'll create a new active and make it a little larger, and let's draw a new image. Let's make it a shape of a mouse, shall we? Just so we know what it is. So that's a mouse. Da, 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 da. And we fill it with white color. So now we have a mouse indicator. It's right there in our scene. Now we need to clone the frame, the first frame, and in the second frame all we do is make left mouse button another color so that it indicates that the mouse is being pressed. So now we have animation of 2 frames, and whenever we have the left mouse button clicked, let's go to event editor, add new event. When the mouse, repeat 1, the mouse, while the mouse key is pressed, left mouse button, and our active will go to animation to change the animation frame. It will go to the frame 1 because that's the second frame, it counts from 0, starting from 0. So frame number 0 is actually the one where the mouse button is not clicked. So we go to frame 1. Now for the ease of editing, we copy the frame, paste it again, and we negate the first and only event in the list. So repeat while the left mouse button is pressed, not. So when the left mouse button is not pressed, we force animation frame not to 1, edit the event, but to 0, so to default frame. Okay, so now if we launch it, we can see that when we click left mouse button, it actually does show in the frame that we are clicking it, which is quite handy and satisfactory, as I call it. Yeah. Now what we do is create a new object, new active. We go to frame editor, create a new active, and that's very important. We need to edit it and fill it with 1 color. Let's just fill it with the same pink color. And the most important thing is we need to set the hotspot and action. Well, actually just the hotspot is enough. We need to set it to the top of the active so that it's actually at the top, coming from the mouse pointer to the object that we need to measure distance to. So we click OK, and now another important step, we need to make it smaller and 1 pixel high. So exactly, you can scale it down as much as you can, and if you can push it down even more, then do it, because that's actually what we need to do. Now it's going to be a bit hard to edit it, but if you manage to click it, then right click it, rename measuring line, Oh, my bad. Forgot to change the typing language. Oh, well, I'm a professional, right? Measure in line, let's call it. So now we've got ourselves a measure in line, 1 pixel high. What we need to do is go to event editor and again create a new always condition. We have one there, but that one is specifically for the mouse pointer object. This one is going to be specifically for the line object. So what we do is we set the position of the measure in line object to the position of the mouse pointer object. Then we select the Y scale, so its height basically, to go from the distance for the distance, my bad, from mouse to the object, which is going to be set by our distance measurer from the two hog wheels, as they call them, distance and angle, and distance between 2 points. So x of the first point is going to be active 2 and position x coordinate. Then we press tab on the keyboard. Y of the first point is obviously going to be the position in y coordinate of the mouse pointer object. Press tab again. X of the second point is going to be the x position of the actual object we need to measure the distance to, so our character, position, x coordinate. And press tab again, do the same for y coordinate. Now this is all good, but if we do it, if we accept it, click OK. Yeah, let's set 1 for maximum quality. Okay, so we now want to launch it. What do we see? First of all, there is going to be no angle, and second of all, we can see the line itself is actually twice as long than the distance to the character. So what we need to do to fix that is to divide. So go edit and set y scale to distance, etc, etc. We edit it by adding the bracket before the formula, a bracket after the formula at the end of the formula, and divide it by 2, because it's obviously twice as large now, and we halve it basically. Yeah, so yeah, let's keep 1 for the maximum quality. And now as you noticed, the line is just going straight down. What we need to change is the angle of the line so that it faces the right direction. So we go to right mouse click on the crossover between the always condition and the measure in line object again, and we go to scale angle and set angle. Now we're going to use the same measuring ability, but not for the distance, but rather for angle of a vector. Now x of a vector is going to be the difference between x positions of the mouse pointer object and the character object. So what we're going to do is make a new bracket opening, and there we'll put in the difference between the x position of mouse pointer object and minus the difference of the character x position. So position x coordinate, and don't forget to close the bracket, that's very important. So now we click tab to move to the next parameter of the formula, and we do the same for y vector. So we have to open the new bracket, go to y coordinate of the mouse pointer object minus the position y of the character object, and close the bracket, otherwise the expression will not be valid. So okay, and click 1 for maximum quality and press OK. What do you think is going to happen now? You'd think logically it would automatically like set the right height and turn itself towards the character object. Well, let's see what actually happens. You see, because originally the line is showing on the right, is basically showing the angle of on the 0 degree, which means on the right. It actually needs to subtract certain amount of degrees in order to show downwards to start with. So that's going to be either minus 90 or plus 270 degrees. So in order to fix it, we need to close it down and edit the last formula that we entered about the angle and do minus 90 degrees. I think that's correct. If not, we can just toggle and fix it in the formula, but as far as I understand, that is how it should be, logically speaking. And yeah, we keep 1. And what we need to do is repeat while the left mouse button is pressed to make the line visible. So reappear, make object reappear, and while it's not pressed, we make the object invisible. So let's test it out, shall we? We start with the mouse pointer at random position, and we want to press left mouse button. Now it shows us exactly the distance between well, the mouse pointer to the object, so that's exactly what we were looking for. So now we can just move around, and without releasing the mouse button, it will always be at the pointing at the center of the character that we set there. So yeah, if we want to, we can move the character away. It will still calculate the distance for us from the right point, so it will always point at the character no matter what. And that's how you do it. That's kind of pretty interesting little formula I found out when experimenting with Clickteam Fusion a while ago, and yeah, I hope that helps you. You can do all sorts of things with it. You can do the laser beams from different positions, so you can make your own game mechanics with it. So you can measure the distance or make graphical applications with it. So yeah, it's just a neat little tool. I thought might be useful for some of the Clickteam programmers. Anyway, thanks for watching. That was Victor's Wagon 360, and I hope that helps you with the topic covered basically. Measuring and drawing the distance visually between two objects. Thanks everyone, that was Victor 360, and I'll see you next time.